exposing the brainwashing tactics of man-made religion.
In this video, family, we'll examine the psychological tactics that are used by all man-made religions, and all religions are man-made, in order to coerce and to control those who buy into the religion. With respect to those of you who are religious, just listen to what it is that we have to say, and let's debate it in good faith on the terms of facts, on the terms of what can be proven. Allow us to dive in.
Welcome to this deep discussion on one of the most powerful and least questioned systems in human history. The way religions shape how we think, what we believe, and even how we see ourselves. This isn't about rituals or traditions on the surface. This is about what happens inside the mind and why these tactics are so effective that they can hold entire populations under their influence for centuries. Religion doesn't spread because of pure logic or evidence. If it did, all faiths would agree on the same truths. Instead, religion uses psychological tools, methods that bypass reason and go straight to emotion, habit, and identity. These methods are so effective that once someone accepts them as a child, it often takes years, sometimes a lifetime, to break free. And here's the most striking part. These tactics are not unique to one faith. They appear everywhere, in different forms, across every religion on earth. So what makes...
So again, he dives into 2 or 3 key points. All religions use psychological tactics in order to produce the outcomes that they want. These religions were and are made by men. It's actual fact. The God or those gods that these religions point to didn't write any word in the books that you follow that introduce you to the God that these men who wrote the book said exists. These individuals, again, they may have meant well, or they could have just been using psychological tactics in order to coerce and to capture the mind of individuals in order to control them and to have a more orderly society based off a belief system. This doesn't make that belief system to be correct and or accurate. And in a matter of fact, anyone that says that God says X, Y, and Z in the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, etc., they are not being genuine, because the individuals who wrote that book said that God said. You and I, as a third, fourth, fifth party, we don't know God said. And no one beyond that individual who wrote that book know if he made it up, because there's no women in the Bible writing any of these verses, if he made it up, or if it is and was a divine inspiration from a God that's in the sky. I tend to believe that it is something that they made up, but some of what they have made up does have some utility and some benefit. So allow us to dive back into this presentation.
The human mind so vulnerable to this kind of control? It begins early, long before we can reason critically. Children are natural learners, wired to trust authority. That's how they survive. When a parent says fire will burn you, the child doesn't demand evidence. They trust. Religion uses that same trust. It introduces beliefs before skepticism develops, creating what psychologists call a cognitive anchor. Once an idea is anchored during those early years, it becomes the framework through which all other information is filtered.
And this is the power of psychology used in the religious format, as well as used by many other individuals who sought to control and coerce. Again, to introduce psychological anchors, those belief systems that are set in play into us as young, growing human organisms. And they say that the first 7 years of our life, that everything is pretty much bypassing the reason and logic center and going directly into the subconscious as truth, as a belief that is actual, especially coming from authority figures, because the human organism is designed to trust, i.e. the parents, to have their best interests at heart. The human organism knows in its infinite intelligence beyond the individual intelligence that you and I have, that is our body's intelligence, that's opposite than our individual intelligence. The biological intelligence that we have that supersedes our intelligence wants and knows that we must be able to trust those in order so that our life can grow into the point where we can take care of ourselves. So this is why it's built into us to believe and trust those who are in authority over us, especially our parents. So allow us to dive back in and get some more of this insight. And again, like you said, we can debate these terms and things in a reasonable
This is why
manner.
so many adults cling to the faith they were raised in, even when they encounter evidence that challenges it. The tactic here is clear. Start young, repeat often, and surround the child with social pressure so strong that belief feels like reality itself. When you grow up hearing the same story from parents, teachers, friends, and community leaders, that story doesn't feel like one option among many. It feels like truth. And this is reinforced through rituals. Rituals aren't just traditions, they're psychological conditioning. When you kneel, chant, or bow day after day, your body is teaching your brain to submit. Repetition is powerful.
This is a powerful, powerful insight that you and I, if we are true to ourselves, we understand that this is what we have been bombarded with. And this is why it is so hard for individuals to receive any information that contradicts what it is that they were taught, especially when it comes to religion. And religion can be challenged at all fronts. They tell you don't challenge God's word. That is not God's word. That is the word of the men who wrote the book. Those are not Jesus' words, written words. Those are the men who wrote the New Testament in reference to Jesus. And again, we have to come back to an understanding that these systems, these psychological tactics are well practiced. They are, and they have earned their level of respect because they know the outcomes have been very extremely beneficial for those who know how to use these psychological tactics. So we'll listen to it a little bit more, and then we'll get on up out of here. All right. So allow us to dive back in, bring them back to the top of the stage, and allow him to continue to teach.
Behavioral scientists know that repeated actions create neural pathways. Over time, these patterns become automatic responses, and questioning them feels unnatural, sometimes even dangerous. Ethic and prayer is another weapon. Almost every religion introduces the idea of punishment, not just in this life, but for eternity. Eternal reward or eternal torment, heaven or hell. The logic is simple. If you can make someone believe that disbelief carries infinite risk, they will cling to faith no matter what doubts they have. It's the ultimate form of control, because it doesn't stop at behavior. It governs thought itself. Even questioning becomes taboo, framed as sin, and when thinking becomes dangerous, real freedom disappears.
That is a powerful statement. We're not going to look at this whole video. I just wanted to introduce that to you. And again, I will try to leave the link in the description so that you can go and listen to it for yourself. One thing that has come into a reality that I understand and see is that anytime that you can get an individual to stop thinking and just accept something, you have an enormous amount of control over that individual or individuals or thousands and even billions of individuals, because you have stopped them from thinking in terms of questioning everything and anything that comes their way as a belief. You have introduced a pattern, a system, a construct of control that is almost impossible to break because of the fear and the doubt that these individuals who have been consumed by this psychological tactic takes hold, and they fear that if they do doubt, if they do question, that they will receive an eternal punishment. There's no better weapon than to tie a punishment into an everlasting result for a human being. No one wants to be punished forever. So these psychological tactics are very effective, and they have shown to be thorough in what it is that they have been able to accomplish by using these tactics. One thing we want to leave you with is called the thought terminating cliches, like God works in mysterious ways. This is where individuals who don't want you to question or do not have the answers and have no clue to the answers when you ask specific questions, they immediately try to shut it down with God works in mysterious ways. This is known in psychology as a thought terminating cliche, and you must be aware of that. Again, if you like the video, please like, subscribe, comment so that we get the algorithm up. Have a beautiful day. Sending you peace and always love. Peace.